Hi, I'm Ben Greenbaum from Cisco Advanced Threat Solutions, and today you're going to find out about threat grid transforms for Maltego. Maltego is a powerful and popular analysis and visualization platform by Perturva, and it is used by penetration testers, threat researchers, incident responders, and many professions both within and outside of the computer and network security fields. Data sources can be linked into Maltego by the use of plugins known as transforms, each of which provides a pivot from one type of information to another by leveraging a specific data set that maps those relationships. For example, using DNS data to map an IP to all of the domains registered to that IP, or using geo-IP data to map that IP to a geographic location. ThreatGrid, of course, is Cisco's advanced malware analysis and threat intelligence platform. There are ThreatGrid transforms for Maltego. In this short video, Michael Auger from ThreatGrid's integrations engineering team will describe how to get it, how to configure it, and how you can use it to both speed up and increase the depth of your threat research and incident response.
This will be a brief demonstration of installing and using the ThreatGrid transforms within Maltego. When you launch Maltego, you'll go to the Transform Hub, you find the Cisco ThreatGrid transforms, and you click Install. It'll ask you to validate that you do want to install them. You click Yes. You'll enter your ThreatGrid API key and click OK. This will take a moment. It'll contact the server, download and install the transforms. Once that's complete, you'll see that there's 33 transforms that are installed, 1 transform set, 5 icons, and 13 entities. Go ahead and click Finish, and they'll be done installing. From here, if you want to view the transforms, you can go up to Transforms at the top, go to Transform Manager, open this transform set, and we can expand the ThreatGrid transform set. Looking at the transforms that are available, most of them go from a ThreatGrid sample ID to one of the elements of the analysis JSON, and the rest go the other way around. They go from an element in the analysis JSON back to a sample ID. So for example, going from a domain to a sample ID, or going from a hash to a sample ID. We'll now change our view back to Investigate, and click this icon to launch a new graph. From this view, over on the left-hand side, you have the entity palette. This lists those 13 entities that are specific to ThreatGrid that are installed with the transforms. From here, we'll go ahead and grab a ThreatGrid behavioral indicator. We'll paste this into the graph. You'll see this is pasted as a phrase. If we try and run the transforms right now, we'll see this is running a phrase to sample ID transform, which is just a full text index search of ThreatGrid, searching for whatever that string of text is. In this case, we know the entity to be a ThreatGrid behavioral indicator, so we'll go ahead and set that. This makes the searches a little bit more efficient because it knows where to look in the index. It also makes the relationships a little bit cleaner once we're populating this with data. So now that this is set as the correct entity type, we can come run the behavior to sample ID transform. Go ahead and click this. This will query ThreatGrid and pull back 12 sample IDs. If you're using the free version of Maltego, it's limited to 12 returns. I'm using the Classic Edition, and I can set this to more results. But for now, we'll just leave this for 12. This comes back, you'll see the 12 sample IDs that have been returned for this query. If we click on any one of these over on the right-hand side, we go to Property View. This will give us the sample ID, the file name of the submission, the threat score for this analysis, in this case 100, how the file was analyzed, in this case it was analyzed as an exe or an executable. We've got the file size of 587 kilobytes, the behavioral indicator count for this analysis of 37, and we can see it was submitted on this date. If we come up to the detail view, it says View in ThreatGrid. If we expand this out, it says click here to load sample in ThreatGrid. When we click this link, this will pivot into ThreatGrid, loading the specific sample. If we wanted to dive into the results that ThreatGrid has and really dig into it from this perspective, we can. But for our use case, we're going to stick in Maltego. From here, we'll select all the sample IDs, and we'll run a new transform. We're looking at the behavior of malware remnant mutex. So let's explore what that mutex is. Let's try and see if we can narrow down on the mutexes that are used, which one is specific to remnant from within these samples. So this comes back, gives us quite a bit of data. You'll notice some outliers over here that are specific to this sample, but then we have 2 mutexes that stand out that are associated with pretty much all of these samples. If we select both of those, One of them is db_win mutex, and the other is a string of text. This is indicative of a ramnet mutex. So we can also change the view in Maltego. It shows a little bit different as a graph. And you get this really clean cluster showing, hey, these are all related. This one's a little different. It somehow has the ramnet behavior, but for just the 12 that we got back, these 12 mutexes that we were returned, these ones really stand out as a cluster. One of the neat features in Maltego, we can make a selection, and then we can just copy these to a new graph, and it just really cleans up what we're looking at. So from here, we'll just reselect the sample IDs. We'll do a query, come to ThreatGrid. In this case, let's go for the public IPs, or sample ID to IPs public. This will query ThreatGrid for each of these samples and pull back just the public IPs, none of the private IPs. We'll do one more query for all of these sample IDs. We'll say, give us all of the domains. So go from each sample ID and grab all of the domains that were communicated with or queried during that sample analysis. It comes back with quite a few. I'll now check this 35.184 IP address. It gives us a couple options. We can pull more samples, or we can go to IP to domain. So this will show what domains ThreatGrid has associated with this IP address. Let's go ahead and run that transform. We get a handful more of domains. If we look down at the bottom, this says that this returned with 27 entities, but again, we're limited to just 12 results, which is why we're limited to just the few that we got back. From here, let's go ahead and select all of the domains. In this case, let's do the opposite. Let's go from domains to IP addresses. So this will take a little bit longer. We have a lot of entities selected. And I'll go ahead and do these queries. And you'll notice we're getting some lines coming back and forth. If we change our view, we now see some pretty solid relationships between a bunch of these samples talking to all these domains, this one IP address being the one that is frequently related, right? This is just a quick demonstration of ways that you can pull data out of ThreatGrid using Maltego and build out a map of infrastructure that's used for a specific campaign. In this case, we started again with the behavioral indicator for ramnet mutex. We were able to extract that mutex, then do some additional queries from those samples to pull out one IP address, a bunch of domains that are used in this ramnet campaign.
Thank you for your interest. I hope you take this information and make use of it to improve the efficacy of your Security Operations Center.